Welcome everybody to the PodAskew Podcast. I am CJ, and with me, as always, is my hetero life mate Rico. What's up, man?
What's up, dude?
How's it going, dude?
I think I have I don't know. I popped something in my shoulder, so my shoulder hurts. But otherwise, I'm dandy fucking rific.
Well, that's what happens when you're digging a grave. But that's another conversation for another day because we have a guest. And
that's true. We have a guest.
We do have a guest. We've had a lot of guests this year, but that's not a bad thing. Our guest this week is a gentleman we met on Twitter, Kyle Hester, who is shooting a new movie. He's an independent movie filmmaker from LA, and he's working on your third movie. Kyle, am I correct?
What's up, guys? First of all, thank you for having me on.
Sure.
This is awesome. And so this would be, wow, let's see. The Chair was the first film that I produced.
Okay.
I was brought on as an actor, and then I ended up producing it. So we had The Chair, Zombie with a Shotgun, Preacher 6, which is in post-production now, and then I'm starting to raise money for another film called The Coop.
Okay, so your fourth one's in the beginning stages then, if I'm correct, right?
Yes, correct.
Okay,
correct.
Well, that's awesome. Definitely want to hear about Preacher 6. I watched the trailer, Rico. I don't know if you had an opportunity before today.
I saw the trailer when he sent it to me. It looks dope, dude. It reminds me of Priest with the dude, fucking Vision. What's his name? Paul Bettany. Did you ever see that flick? It's like it has those tones of it, and I dig it. The interesting thing is I'm more of a horror buff than CJ, so I think I automatically appreciate it more than CJ here. But
yeah, but
right on.
Go ahead, Kyle. Please, didn't mean to interrupt.
No, it's all good. I'd say it's kind of like a grindhouse a little bit. There's horror elements in it, certainly, but it's like an action, like noir grindhouse.
Yeah,
horror.
That's kind of what I was going to say, Kyle. Like, based on the trailer from what I saw, there's horror elements to it, but it doesn't strike me as like a straight out like Saw or one of the slasher films. Like, it's definitely more of a sci-fi thriller type thing. That's how I got from it.
For sure. It is. Yeah, it's not a straight up horror. Like The Chair, with Roddy Piper, that is a horror film. So that's like a dark psychological horror. So if you haven't seen that and you're a horror buff, then definitely check it out. It was Roddy's last film, and he was amazing.
I don't think I knew that. That's awesome. Yeah, so that reminds me, you got some pretty heavy hitters in these films. I mean, I've only seen especially like I said, the Preacher 6 trailer, but I did see Roddy was in one of the other film. Like, you're getting some pretty big names for an indie filmmaker. That's impressive. How are you pulling that off?
Thanks, man. Actually, it's just from having been in movies and working with these people in the past. So it's kind of like I've had basically my like Rolodex of like if I was ever going to make a film,
sure.
Who would I want to be in it? So that's how quite a few of the people, well, not quite a few, but several of the cast members from The Chair are also in Preacher 6. And then, so like I met Peter Mernick, he was in Justified and Jag and all that. I met him on the set of Andersonville a long time ago that John Frankenheimer directed. And Carmen Argenziano, who was in Godfather 2, he was also on from that set of Andersonville. So it's just like as an actor, kind of kept in touch with people and friends that I'd worked with in the past.
Right.
What was Frankenheimer like?
Yeah.
Frankenheimer was amazing. He was like he could come on and he would basically like command the set. When he was on there, it's like he walked on with authority, took over, like you knew that like, okay, shit's happening, we're getting down to business, So yeah, I have not seen a director with the kind of like presence and just like takes charge at like he did. It was very, very cool.
That's awesome. I love Frankenheimer. One of my all-time favorite movies of his was Manchurian Candidate. I mean, that is just a directorial achievement in its own way. Plus, I mean, it gets a lot of hate, but I actually kind of enjoyed Reindeer Games a lot. His last movie.
Oh yeah. No, I like it too. I mean, he's just got such an original way of shooting and kind of lining up shots and taking one long shot into a close-up and then out of that close-up to another long shot, just like these 4-minute staged events, that kind of took the audience on a ride with the cameraman. It was and that's rare, and he could do that brilliantly.
I'm sitting here looking at the cast, and I got to be honest with you, Kyle. These are not names I'm as familiar with, but I'm sure Rico knows some of them because that's his world. But I got to tell you, this one guy you got on for Preacher 6, I swear to God, at a glimpse, you would think it's Ving Rhames because it looks just like him, I think. Anyway, Thomas Boykin.
Oh, yeah. Tomas, he's amazing. Where I met him, we had the same manager at a certain point in our careers that neither of us are with that same guy anymore. But he was one of those people where I saw him working. It's he was he's an amazing actor. So it's that is how I think you really, if you want to be a successful, if you want to be successful anything, you got to use the best people,
Sure.
for it instead of, because that's how B movies end up looking like B movies, is because they don't have the high quality, of acting. It's and that's the people that are going to be selling the film,
right.
So that's why and it's John Frankenheimer, I went to one of his meetings at the Directors Guild here in LA, and someone asked him, he said, what's the most important thing about film? If you could tell a filmmaker, what is the most important thing? And he said, well, the first thing is casting, and the second thing is sound. Mm-hmm. And it was that was a surprising answer. But that's totally true, because you can tell, if you don't have good sound, that's also one of the giveaways, on how good a film is.
Yeah, well, I mean, and it's a different level of type of film. But Rico, you remember when we did the Oscar episode? You said one of your bigger complaints about Bohemian Rhapsody was some of the sound and the way that was put together.
Well, no, dude. I had a whole lot more other complaints about Bohemian Rhapsody, but I was kind of I think my bitch of it was that Bohemian Rhapsody was getting nominated for an Oscar for basically just using the soundtrack of a bunch of Queen songs. I didn't think it was a caliber of a nominee because the best sound is we're going to use all these tracks from Queen.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That was my complaint. I agree that most movies need good sound. I would also, if I can add to Frankenheimer's response, no matter what, you need good sound, you need good actors, but you need good writing. And you need good, yes, sound great, and yes, the actors can act the shit out of it, but if they're not saying anything that's good.
True.
Oh, yeah. My wife actually is the screenwriter for Preacher 6, and she's we kind of talked about it as we were going, how the important parts of a film, and it's and sometimes when how Tarantino when he writes, he'll have the actors or the characters talking about something that's really has nothing to do with what's going on at that moment in the film. It's Royale with cheese. When they're
right.
about to go, bury a body or whatever they were doing, and they're talking about Burger King, so it's those moments are what give life to a script and originality. And I think that with Preacher 6, she hit it out of the park.
Plug your wife. What's her name?
Tracy Ray. Her name is Tracy Ray, and she is a screenwriter. She's also writing The Coop. So she's in the middle of rewrites right now for that, which is going to be a modern Western. So there will be blood.
Interesting. Nice.
I just realized I just said plug your wife.
Yeah, I was gonna let it go, but since you brought it up,
well,
Kyle, have
on
you
that
had?
note,
Yeah. Let's try to switch from there. I know that we've all kind of connected pretty quickly, but have you had an opportunity to check out the show at all? Get a feel for what we do.
I did have yes, I was able to listen to some of it, and
Excellent.
You guys are freaking awesome.
Thank you. I wasn't looking for that necessarily, but thank you. I just wanted to make sure you were familiar with the format and what we do, and because we can be a little bit of a ball breakers, and we try to have fun with it, and I just want to make sure that that's something you're comfortable with before we take it too far. So,
which one did you happen to listen to?
I couldn't tell you the title of it, but I know that you had mentioned something about Clerks.
Well, yeah, that doesn't narrow it down with our show, but yeah, we.
That's literally every episode. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, I sent you a couple. Right. I did send you a couple episodes. Is that one of the ones you listened to, or?
Yeah.
Speaking of good people, though, Kyle, because you mentioned you have to have good people, obviously off screen as well, and it turns out we have a mutual friend that you may be aware of, but I wasn't aware of until yesterday, and that's Jamie Cat Ears.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, she's
awesome. It's funny. She DM'd me yesterday. She's like, "You're gonna be on their show. That's so cool." And I was like, "Yeah, that's awesome. Such a small world." So yeah.
If I understood correctly, she's producing this, or Preacher 6.
She is one of the executive producers.
Yeah.
So she was awesome. Preacher 6 would not have happened in the time frame that it did without her. She was a huge part of making it happen.
Yeah, we've only talked to her. Yeah, and we've only talked to her once because we surprised her for Rico's birthday. So we had her on the surprise episode for his birthday. But Kyle, give us a little bit of background on you and how you started not just these movies, but like your career. Because that sounds like you've been doing some acting long before you started making your own movies. So. Oh
yeah. I started out basically. Acting has been the thing since I was in the 7th grade. It was one of those watching Fame on television, and it was like, that's really cool. How do I be a part of that? Is there a high school like that, around here? And so it turns out that there was a performing arts high school in Houston, and then I ended up doing that and dancing on tables and the whole nine.
Right.
So, but and then I went to Cal Arts and so it's been basically my since I was a kid.
Cal Arts got a big roster of filmmakers and animators and actors. I mean, Tim Burton is in a lot.
Yep.
That's a school.
Yeah, it's a lot of people that come out of Cal Arts end up being pretty successful. I mean, it's not an easy school to get into, so it's like they're kind of selective, and now it's like really expensive. So I mean, if it now I would not be able to afford to go there without mortgaging my entire future.
Right.
So,
so did you have to put together like a reel or like an audition package of some sort before to get in there? Like how did that process work?
It's like theater audition.
Okay.
So it's monologues. So they actually I think go around the country to like cities and you audition at certain places. Like they'll go to North Carolina School of the Arts and then I think they went to my high school in Houston. I think they auditioned, not San Diego, but I mean, they'll go to major cities and hold auditions. And then, and if you want to come, to here to Valencia,
right,
and audition for here.
Do you remember your monologue?
Oh, God.
Do you know what it was?
Well, yeah, it was. They're like big. They wanted a Shakespearean. And then like a comedy. So which one did I use? I think As You Like It. I think might have done something from As You Like It. I
didn't know Shakespeare did As You Like It.
Oh.
Yeah. Yep.
So
they did.
You mentioned being from Houston. And please, you would know better, so I apologize with my ignorance, but were you and I know Houston's not exactly around the corner from Austin because I'm kind of familiar with the state, but Were you there for when Linklater was out there doing his stuff? Because I know that's a big influence on like Kevin, which is why we're here. So
that's really cool. No, I think I was there, like fourth grade through high school, and then ended up coming kind of right out to California, and then I lived in New York for a couple of years and Atlanta for a couple of years, and I did some theater at the Alliance Theater in Atlanta, and then actually Atlanta's where Andersonville happened, and then also that's where Last Dance was filmed in Tennessee, right near there. So when I was living there is when I did those two films.
So, God, Rico.
Which is not what you asked.
No, that's okay. If the answer is no, yeah, welcome to PodAskew. No, but that's all right. No, because Rico is much more the historian when it comes to movies. Like I can watch a movie and enjoy it, and thanks to him, I can break it down. But Rico's the one that like knows those facts and all that kind of stuff. So, and I know what Linklater started with Dazed and Confused out in Austin, so I just wasn't sure if, that lined up. So.
Right.
And yeah, Rico's not talking.
It's not for me, but I mean, I think it's awesome. People, it's like you can kind of blaze your own trail wherever you are now. It's like just because I happen to be in Los Angeles, that's not the reason that like films are made, right. So it's like, people are doing it everywhere. So I think it's definitely changing in that way now, which is awesome.
Sure. And especially from an indie film perspective, but from a major film perspective, you mentioned Atlanta, that like Georgia seems to be the hotbed these days for doing things. I'm guessing because of tax breaks of some sort, but
But yeah, for sure. People are moving to Atlanta from here, and from New York. So it's like, there's a lot of stuff going on, so hopefully that keeps going for them, and everybody gets to work.
Well, it's my understanding that a lot of filmmakers are also not going to work in Atlanta anymore, based on the abortion laws.
Right.
Yeah. I think from what I understand, basically people are going to wait to see what happens from the courts. But I mean, I think it's like if you have a choice of whatever your particular moral standings are, then you kind of gotta stick to what your own personal code is, and I think that for me, it kind of like I was thinking about, going to Louisiana and doing something there, and then when they passed the law, I'm like, well, I can't do that now, so but I don't know, you got to follow your own personal code.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, if you're not comfortable where you're making the movie, that or whatever project you're working on, podcast, movie, album as a band, you're not going to be comfortable. The material is not going to be as good because it's probably going to show through, even if it's on a subconscious level. So, so tell us a little more about Preacher 6. Give us a little more background on the story, the concept. Oh, Rico, did you want to say something?
Yeah, what happened to Preacher 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5?
You got to watch the movie.
Okay.
These questions are answered. So, you definitely have to find out from the film. So okay, here's a little backstory.
Please.
So I had been involved with this other person's project that they had written. And I was like trying to help get it off the ground for about 5 years. And then from the point that money began to be we're talking to people who might want to invest. So it's like the illusion of money. It's not even like the money was actually in the bank and real, and now, it's going to happen. But the writer of that film lost his mind. It's like he didn't know how to deal with not even success, but potential success. So it's like the ego, ego precedes the fall, or whatever that saying is. But that's exactly what happened. It was like we went from being like, hey, we're going to make this happen together, and then to I can fire you whenever I want because it's my project, and that kind of thing. So it was like, for other technical reasons, like he would not sign a what's the contract where you have rights to a film or rights to represent a film.
Ownership?
No. It's like basically like when you sign a contract that says you can represent the film and that you have legal access to represent the film.
Power, like a power of attorney type of thing.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Something like that. Yeah. So basically, and he was not willing to do that, and so he basically, and he's like, well, I'll find somebody else. So that's kind of how it went. So I had made all these contacts and cast it and put, a lot of my friends that you see in my film now, I had lined them up with roles in it and all this kind of stuff. And then I ended up not being a part of the film anymore because of the ego situation that happened with the writer. And so this was like 5 years of my life that basically, like, in one fell swoop was, that's over.
Wow.
That's done. All that energy that you put into something, and now you're not in it or not doing it. So I was pretty pissed, and when you
rightfully yourself.
Yeah. When you waste that much time or spend that much time in earnest, to try to make something happen, and then get kind of yanked out from under you. And so I'm like, I'm livid, and this is all going somewhere, by the way. So I'm out in the backyard. And I'm like, I'm kicking cats and, throwing shit around and whatnot. And I got a couple of cocktails in, and my wife's inside and she's doing the same thing. And, so we're like, what the fuck, man? And I go back inside and I hear my wife, and she's going, preacher, like that. And I'm like, what are you doing? It's like, I don't know. But this is really cool. And so she starts kind of telling me this idea that she had about this like preacher, and we've kind of started spitballing ideas back and forth about it. And that was the inception of Preacher 6, because it was like, all right, if we're going to spend that much time trying to make a movie happen, then we already know how to do it. Let's do it for ourselves and not like, help other people do it that would potentially take it away from you at a whim,
right.
So basically from the flames of that other project was born Preacher 6. And so we started like, that day she started writing it, and I made the Twitter account. You can go to the Twitter account and see like when it was born or whatnot. And that was the day that happened.
I like to condone that PodAskew does not condone kicking cats in the backyard, by the way.
Okay, that may or may not have been hyperbole. I don't actually kick cats.
Oh, Rico, I love you.
I'm sorry. I just my cat looked at me when you said that. I'm like, oh,
it's like it hurt you.
That's funny. No, we have a feral cat actually that was feral, that's no longer feral, that adopted us, and he like kind of comes and goes now inside the house.
All joking aside, that story is pretty. It's sad, but in a good way. I mean, it's like a phoenix coming from the ashes. I mean, something that was awful that took away 5 years of your life, and now you're able to say, "Well, fuck it, I'll just make my own goddamn movie."
That's exactly what happened. That is, in a nutshell, what you just said is how it went. And it was nuts. So it was like, what do you do? What do you do? So, I mean, fortunately, I was in
a podcast. What do you do?
That's funny. But it's like I was fortunately in a position where I knew how to produce. I knew how to put people together to make something happen. So it was like, we had a launching pad to be able to do it. And my wife being a screenwriter, it's like, okay, well, here we are. We're a production company. Let's do this. So But sometimes it takes something like that to actually give you the motivation to take the risk for yourself, to do something. Cause it's like, all eyes on me, it's like, it was a huge risk. We started raising money, basically that day, it's like we started planning in the Indiegogo, which we did like, I don't know. I mean, you can go to Indiegogo and see how many we had. I think we had 5 total, and we had GoFundMe's, and and we're still in post-production. So it's like, we're still grinding along and, getting it finished. But like, as an independent filmmaker, it's like people have no idea how much money things cost, to make a movie, and that was a huge part of like, how are we going to do this? And I just said, there is no stopping. It's like, once this train starts rolling, there is no, oh, well, we didn't come up with it. Right. Sorry, guys, we tried. That was never, ever an option for me. Right. It's like, and the same thing with my new film, The Coop, that we're just starting on now. It's like, okay, as soon as we launch the first, fundraiser for it, this is happening no matter what. So it's like, I think you have to have that kind of mindset, before you get into something like that.
No, I know you're big into the indie film, and we 100% support that. I mean, we have a friend in London working on his first short film right now, and running into some of the same problems you ran into with funding and whatnot. So we totally get that just from talking to him and support of it. Have you or did you ever want to shop this around to the major studios? No.
It was like because based on our prior experience with like having something not work that was in someone else's hands. So it was very specifically, we're doing this because we will be able to have the control to finish it and then to get it out onto platforms and all that kind of stuff. And like, distribution is a whole other thing, that filmmakers can lose money on because of distributors and then transparency and all of that kind of stuff. So we do it ourselves. Being
your own boss. That's
totally.
Important.
That's what we love about this. We set the rules for PodAskew. We can talk about what we want to talk about. We talk about what we don't want to talk about. And it's definitely a democracy. Rico and I sit together and figure that kind of stuff out. But like, we definitely get to set our own rules, and we like that.
And then we can break them.
Which we have. So, again, from watching the trailer, Kyle, what was the budget on this? Because it looks like it comes out of a major studio, to me anyway. Maybe my eye's not as sharp as, say, Rico's, but to me, it looks like it's coming out of a major studio. Like, I know it's not because you've told us as such, but...
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think it's just like finding the right people that have the skills to pull something off. And that comes from putting together a project from the beginning, is like knowing how you're going to pull something off. Because like our director, Grady Earls, does special effects. So he knows how to do the digital effects that you'll see in those trailers. And so it's like, I know that like I know how to pull off like the physical stuff, and like I can do stunts, and and I know how to build sets, and because I've done that as well. I've done everything. So it's like art directed things. So it's like I know how to physically put a film together, and it's like, so, and with his skills of doing the digital stuff, so that's how this was put together. And I think like we're like, I don't know, at this point, like 185 in right now.
Wow.
That's and that's like, that's scraping and, and selling t-shirts and, and we do have some private investors, like our executives. But the rest of it has been, all of the, the Indiegogos and the crowdfunding and GoFundMe and that kind of stuff. So it's definitely a grind. And I hope that we are able at one point, to have these films be making the money to be able to make the next ones.
Right.
Because because the crowdfunding and the Indiegogo, it's like it would not have been possible without it, but it in itself is a full-time job.
Right.
It's like, because if you follow my Twitter, so you see how many times a day I post about things,
Sure.
And it's that's a whole thing.
Yeah, no, I get it. I mean, it's not to the same level, but the amount of, tweeting we do to try to keep the show relevant while, maintaining daily jobs is, tweeting it and promoting and whatnot. So, and obviously we're not at the level that you're at where you need to try to raise funds. I mean, fortunately, we can do this without the need to really raise anything. We just put it out there for the world to hear. But yeah, and again, from the trailer, man, the quality of this thing looks, I mean, that's one of the first things Rico and I said to each other after we watched the trailer was that, like, for an indie film, this level of quality is, at least in my personal experience, it's never been to this level that I've seen. That doesn't make the other films bad, just to put that out there for everyone else. But, so you're making a high quality product, man.
I appreciate that. I really do. I really do. I think it's kind of like the perfect storm of knowing who does what really well.
Right.
And then letting those people do that. It's like, because I'm the first to tell you, if I don't know something, I'm not going to try to put my hands into something and, so I do it like this. Like, you get on a set and like, the producers will come over and say, well, can't we have the crane attached to the house? And it's like, well, no. You know what I mean?
Right.
So it's like, render unto Caesar, that kind of thing. So I'm the first person to like, if I know what I'm doing, then like I'll get my hands on that. But if I don't, and I'll be like, I don't know. It's like, how does, so the camera you look through this way, right? You know what I mean? So it's I'm not that guy, But so I think that's part of it,
How long was the shoot?
Own way. What's that?
How long was the shoot?
We've actually shot a couple of times. 2 summers ago, I went to Arkansas, and we shot some of the. If you look at we have a trailer from like 2 years ago that you can see, or maybe not quite 2 years ago, but all of that footage was done in Arkansas, and then the trailer number 3, that's from last summer's filming here in Los Angeles on the stage. So I'd say as far as how many days total, it's probably like 21 days.
Over the course of a year and a half.
Over the course. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so like because of the majority of the action happened all at the same time with all of those actors. So it's like, so I couldn't like shoot on the weekends or do anything like that because like everybody in the cast, they're all like working actors. And these are people that like, you need to book their time and have, okay, this is when we're shooting, so it's like, I have to have $1 bazillion that we're going to spend in 2 weeks because everything costs money,
Right.
Jeez, it's a big deal. It is a lot of work.
Of course it is.
Yeah.
It's all worth it. It's all worth it.
We have that friend who you may or may not have listened to his episodes, Matty Granger, who he told us that like he is amazed with the accomplishments of filmmakers because it's like we are kind of like a small army. We can go into a state or a country and like build a whole city. If we need to, in like within 6 hours, everybody has food, everybody knows what they're doing, and the whole building, the set is built. Like he's like, it's kind of amazing to know that probably the best assassins are like film crews. If we're really being honest, they could sneak in, get the rights, and then just like kill their mark and film it and then leave.
I think he actually used the phrase "more efficient than the army." I believe was the phrase he used because he said, like Rico said, they go in, they set up a whole town, and then they live there for however many days, and then collapse it down like they were never there.
Right.
Yeah. I think that there's definitely something to that. I've heard kind of like the hierarchy of film described like that, like military operations, and you have generals and lieutenants, and all the way to try to get it all happening. Everybody's got their own job to do.
What were the go-to movies for you when you were a kid, and that movie that you just kept rewatching again and again? Because everybody has that.
The Shining. The Shining with Jack Nicholson. That was, I think, for me, that was actually what made me want to do film. Is like watching Jack Nicholson's performance in that, and like just like emulating what he was doing. I would like part of Jack's mannerisms came into my acting, and I was like, okay, wait a minute, no, I can't do that.
Bring it out. Let me hear your Jack Nicholson. Let me hear it.
Oh man, I haven't done Jack Nicholson in a long time.
Here, I'll do mine, then you can do yours.
Wait, I got it. Okay, so here we are on the stairs. Wendy, put the bat down, Wendy. Put the bat down, Wendy.
Based on your answer, though, that leads me to two questions, and more in my realm, so I apologize, Kyle, for kind of getting away from your realm a little bit. But one, did you see Ready Player One?
No.
No, okay. The reason I ask you that is because they do Rico, would you say almost shot for shot, at least in the beginning?
There are shot for shot scenes.
There you go.
But it's not a direct. Do you know the basic concept of Ready Player One?
Please school me.
Well, the movie. We're not talking about the book.
Yeah,
the movie. It's a video game world. The world has kind of gone to shit, and everybody kind of just goes into the video games to actually earn money, because the video game world is just better than the actual world if you're poor, basically. But everybody's in it. It's an escape fantasy. The creator of the video game, before he died, announced basically that there are 3 literal Easter eggs in the game. And this game is super vast, and like it's literally worlds and planets that you have to kind of go to. And if you find all 3 of the Easter egg keys, then you basically become the new owner of the video game and become super famous, and you have complete control. Yada, yada, yada. In order to solve the riddles where to find the key locations, they had to go deep into the creator of the video game's mind. And his all-time favorite movie was The Shining. So there's a part in the movie where they are running around in the fucking hotel of The Shining.
Wow.
Being chased by the old lady with a knife, and Jack Nicholson looking guy with an axe, and the torrents of blood. I mean, it's because it's Spielberg. It was friends with Kubrick. He made a giant homage to The Shining.
And it's
not in the book.
Yeah.
No.
It's still.
So that's really cool.
My reason for asking that was because I was going to ask you what you thought of it, but obviously you've never seen it, so you can't answer that question. My other one is we're big into the comic book movies, so the X-Men's, the Marvel stuff, all that stuff. And Rico, I think it was on Twitter you put out there that Nicholson could have played Wolverine if it was like 20 years ago.
Well, Maddie put out because Jack Nicholson kind of looked like Wolverine from the movie Wolf when he played a werewolf.
Yeah.
Right.
And so he had the hairiness, and he looks like a wolf. But then I said, well, I think a young, ferocious Al Pacino could have done it. But really, if I'm thinking about it, how tall are you, Kyle?
5'10".
Okay, so you're too tall to be Wolverine. You're out.
Stop. We have this argument all the time when it comes to Wolverine about height. Anyway, he wanted Danny DeVito for what it's worth. So like that.
I didn't want Danny DeVito. I wanted me to be fucking Wolverine.
Kyle, if you had your choice of any role you could have had, whether it's something that could be coming up or something that's already been out, forget time being a thing. Any movie you could have been in, what is the role you would love to have had a chance to play?
I think it was The Shining.
I'd have to say Keanu Reeves' role in The Matrix.
Really? It's a fun role, man. I can imagine that's got to be fun to do.
Yeah. I think it's funny because that was like another super groundbreaking film for its time. It's like with a bullet time. It's like that. All of that, just like, what am I watching? Oh my God! How do they do that?
Right.
All that kind of stuff. It just really got, set another bar. For like where films is gonna go, and I think that now, I think that they've kind of gone as far as digital effects, like to a place where it's almost too much particulates. I don't know if like that kind of thing, but it's like with when explosions happen and stuff like that, like in Transformer and all that kind of stuff, where there's just like so many moving things, like hundreds and thousands of little things moving all at the same time to make something,
right?
And it's like, just because you can do something doesn't mean you need to do it in every shot,
Sure.
And I think that, so people will get a toy and then that will be the thing, like the next thing, instead of well, what are we trying to say with this movie,
right.
with this scene or this character or whatever. And I think that when you let the toys run away, then it actually kind of takes me out of the moment. It's like, what am I looking at? This is too much, but that's just me. But I think that it might be changing now, but I think they kind of ran away with all the particulate effects at one point, where that was everywhere.
I can agree with that. I'm old school. If I want to see a bunch of shit flying in the air, they better be fucking flying monkeys from Wizard of Oz. I want more practical effects as opposed to CGI.
Yeah. Well, speaking of practical effects, so Preacher 6 was like a combination, but there is a lot of CGI in it, which is actually why post-production is we filmed it last summer, and so we're still in post now. So because of the digital effects, so we're still, because things take so long to render,
Sure.
and so we need to buy more computers or have or borrow some people that have super computers or whatever. So we're working on that right now. But as far as practical effects, this new film that we're going to be working on called The Coop, which is the modern Western that I mentioned, that's going to be all practical. So, and my character is heavily into weapons and booby traps and that kind of thing. So I'm going to be making those things. So
nice.
And so stunts are going to be real, and so it's all of it's going to be completely different from what we did before. And that's kind of what we decided, with the films that we make, is always keep the audience guessing, so that you're not oh yeah, well that's what they do, or whatever. So it's so I went from The Chair, which is full on horror film, to Zombie with a Shotgun, which is an art house film, really. So it's not thousands of zombies, that kind of thing. It's more like an art house film.
It's not World War Z, basically. It's more, yeah.
Yeah, so it's like cerebral,
right.
like that kind of thing. And then Preacher 6, which is highly effects driven, digital, and then we go to The Coop, which is the modern Western, which has 0 digital in it. So. Yeah, I think that I know that you can see me. It's my hair is super long and I have a beard and whatnot now, and that's all for The Coop. But I think that in each of the films that I've done, it's I'm kind of a chameleon, with it. So you never know what you're gonna get.
But that's a good thing though. I don't know if you consider this a fair comparison, but James Cromwell is one of those guys. That guy is everywhere and such a good actor. And even the guy you got for Preacher 6, who, if I read your tweet correctly, it was his last film as well. And I'm pulling the cast list up again, but what's his name? It's moving
Carmen.
slow. I'm sorry.
Carmen.
Yeah, it's like that guy. It was everywhere. I can't tell you how many times I've seen him in movies, but and sometimes they were 2 seconds. Like I know off the top of my head, Gone in 60 Seconds, he has like a 30-second role, and that's it. But like he does that.
Yeah, he was in Swordfish.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's been in a bunch of stuff.
He worked a lot. So he was everywhere. And great actor.
I am a little concerned though that that was his last movie and it's Roddy Piper's last movie about like actors in your films, man. That's a little frightening.
Yeah, I'm an actor. I was going to volunteer my services, but now I'm not interested.
Oh my God! All right, that's funny. Well, yeah, you know what? It's unfortunate that those things happen. I didn't actually even know Carmen was sick, and I didn't know that he was sick, and he never told anybody. You know, and I think that's one of those things where he was just like doing his thing for as long as he could do it, you know, and he had that knowledge, that he just never shared. And he showed up and he was a trooper every day. And it's like, you can see when somebody's, tired and, it's all right. I got your back, man. No worries, and not knowing, that there's actually something wrong or what's going on. But, so we got through all the days, and then he was great, man. But fuck cancer. So,
yeah. Oh, is that? See, I wasn't even aware. Like you said, he wasn't really talking about it. So that's just a shame.
Yeah, I had no idea. So like when he passed away, it was a total shock to me. As it was to everybody else, because he didn't tell anyone.
Well, I mean, you got a great actor in it, and honestly, going back to the last one, I think you said The Coop. All kidding aside, Roddy Piper was actually a pretty good actor. Like a lot of people don't give him credit for that, I think, and he was a decent actor. Like I'm not going to tell you he was, A-list maybe, but definitely great actor.
No, I tell you what, man. If you like, I know you don't like horror films, but he gave a really amazing performance in The Chair. I mean, it was subdued, and it was really, really super intense on a quiet level. Yeah. I mean, I think that, we didn't really have it in film festivals and that kind of thing for awards, but I think that he gave an award-winning performance for sure, hands down.
And just to be fair, real quick, Kyle, horror films aren't necessarily my forte, but that doesn't mean, when we meet people like you, I will still try to check out the material. So I will, make an effort to find it and watch it, and that kind of thing. It just may not make my top 5 list, but I'll certainly give it a
That's
a
all
viewing.
Right. You know what? It's kind of funny because I'm not a huge horror guy either.
Yeah.
So it's things that I don't search out, but I do know that horror's got a huge audience.
Yes, it does.
And they're loyal followers. Like people that like horror films love horror films. They'll watch anything. It's like if it's even if the B movie, it's like they love the B movie stuff. Because of it's got its own genre and thing, and the Scream Queens and all that kind of stuff that. It kind of made its own niche, for what you're gonna get, and people search it out.
What's your take on the original 1978 Halloween film?
Jesus Christ, Rico, I hate you.
What's my take on it? I think that was one of the creepiest films that I'd ever seen.
Good.
I thought that was an amazing film.
So wait, I will give you the background here, right? So they put out that remake or not really remake, the sequel to Halloween last year, I think it was. Yeah. And so we did an episode where I watched the original 1978 one for the very first time, and Rico went and watched the new one, and then we came together and discussed it. And I hated the first one. I didn't like it at all. I thought it was one of the dumbest things I've ever seen, and he has not let me live it down. since that recording.
Every chance I get, I remind him that he is alone in this universe. Actually, CJ, I want to tell you, my brother said that he didn't like the first Halloween either. But you know what? I don't know if my brother has good taste in films.
Fuck you. So I mean, I came around a little bit on it when Henry gave us the description that he did on your birthday episode, which he called it the Clerks of horror films, and that kind of got me to look at it differently.
Well, no, I said that, and he repeated what I had said.
I'm giving the credit to Henry, but anyway,
okay. That's awesome.
Give us a little more on the if I got to write the Coop, the modern western. Can you tell us a little more about it, or is that kind of hush hush for the moment? And I respect that if it is.
Well, here's the thing. Okay, like in today's world with social media and people that actually have money that could because our ideas are pretty unique. So I mean, you're not going to even really know what Preacher 6 is about. From the trailer, I mean, you can kind of get it,
right.
Like small town preacher fights demons. This looks cool, so it's like but the story of it is actually pretty complicated and original, so we don't really put that much of the plot out there. And that's the same thing with the Coop. It's like, like Quentin Tarantino, it's like, the actors don't really, you don't get the script until you're on set.
Right. And that's fair. We respect that. No problem.
Yeah. So, I mean, but basically, we're kind of talking about like how we can talk about the plot of the Coop now, so we're having discussions amongst ourselves about how we're going to game plan that with like telling, because obviously people need to be excited about something. So you have to know how you're going to kind of pitch it to make people excited, and then, but without giving it away. So we're talking about how to do that right now.
That's fair. We can respect that. And then the other quick question I had for you is, I know it's still in post and you're still trying to raise funds for the post, but is there an anticipated release date for Preacher 6 or no?
Well, we definitely want to get it out this year.
Okay.
So that we're looking to have it out for 2019. So it's just a matter of like when and how quickly we can get things all wrapped up. And that has to do a lot with the effects and computer stuff and that kind of thing.
All right. Well, when it's ready to go, you let us know, and we'll make sure we put the word out from our end. And then I look forward to seeing it. Honestly, the trailer's got me hooked. I want to see it. So.
Well, cool. Thank you guys. I appreciate the time, and anytime, man. I'd love to come back on, and we can talk more when it's getting closer.
Yeah.
Plug your Twitter.
Twitter is at Kyle D. Hester. That's D as in David, Hester. And you can go to Preacher 6 is at Preacher 6, all one word, and then at the Coop Film, all one word.
And we'll have links to all that in the descriptions and our Twitter post.
You're awesome.
So yeah. No, well, thank you, man. We appreciate that. Listen, Kyle, we appreciate your time. I know it's limited, so thank you for joining us, and we'll look forward to seeing the movie when it comes out.
Thank you so much, and you can talk amongst yourselves about how you really feel about me once I hang up. So
we will. All right, man. Take it easy.
All right, guys.
Bye, Kyle.
Bye.
Well, all right, man. That was Kyle. He's a fun dude.
Yeah, he's good. He's a nice guy.
And he looks like the dude. At least he did today, but I think that's because he's getting ready for that film. But still,
he also kind of looks like, I want to say the actor's name is Michael McKean, but with a beard.
The guy from Spinal Tap?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's Michael McKean. Yeah.
I just kept thinking, like, fuck, he looks like the dude from Spinal Tap.
Yeah, but it was a fun guy, and I was already kind of on board for Preacher 6, but now I want to see this movie, like, really.
Yeah, man, I want him to fucking send us a copy.
You fucking better after we had on the show.
Kyle, get your shit together and fucking send us a copy.
The other thing is the Coop, like this modern western. Like, I'm kind of curious to see how that's going to play out.
Yeah, I'm not a big Western guy. I've said that a couple times, but like I dig Westerns are kind of coming back, and they are doing the modern Western vibe, like Hell or High Water. I actually thoroughly enjoyed. Did you see that?
No.
It's Chris Pine, Ben Foster, and actually the dude. I think Jeff Bridges.
Oh wow!
And it's like these two brothers. Their mother dies, and they are trying to save the farm, so they rob banks to pay back the mortgage before the farm gets foreclosed. And Jeff Bridges is the sheriff who's trying to track them down, and it is got that modern day Western vibe, kind of like No Country for Old Men, like that. I would argue that's a modern day Western in its own way.
Okay.
Set in the 70s, but still,
Right. I think I'm visualizing something different, not in that movie, but in what Kyle's building then, because, like, I don't know. Either way, I'm excited to see it, Yeah,
man, as he was talking about, these, like Roddy Piper, I was like, the way he was describing him was sort of how Kevin would talk about Michael Parks.
Yeah.
Just this underrated but still very good actor. I mean, They Live, as weird of a movie as it is, has a very good performance from Roddy Piper.
Right.
Did you ever see They Live?
No.
You're gonna have to see They Live.
I've seen him act though. And I don't just mean like wrestling stuff. Like I've seen him actually act, and he's got chops, man. I don't remember what I saw him in. I know it wasn't They Live, but still,
right.
He's got some chops. So again, I know he's not here at this point, but Kyle, thank you again for joining us. We really did appreciate that. It was a good conversation, and I think I speak for both of us. We're looking forward to the movie.
And if somehow we can get like a PodAskew, like fucking thermos or something in your modern Western, like, cowboys drink coffee too, man.
There you go. Hey, we're already going to be in Henry's movie. I think that's a good start. So
fuck that. I want this shit everywhere.
We'll get there, buddy. We'll get there. Speaking of everywhere, there's some, for lack of a better phrase, some breaking news that seemed to have come out today about Bond 25. And it's let's just say it's surprising. Like, I don't know that I have a problem with it. I want to put that out right up front, but I'm kind of unsure how I feel. Let's put it that way. Because I'm still digesting the news.
Well, I have a theory to it, but why don't you break the news and I'll basically tell you my theory.
So apparently Lashana Lynch is an actress's name, and for those of you who've seen Captain Marvel, she's Carol Danvers' best friend from that movie, will be taking over the role of 007. There's going to be a transition from Daniel Craig to her during the plot of Bond 20, what's currently being called Bond 25. And I don't know. Like, look, and I think I've talked about this before. I've never been the biggest Bond person. Like, before Daniel Craig, I was not a Bond fan. Like, I didn't watch James Bond movies. I didn't care. The only thing I ever cared about James Bond was GoldenEye for the N64, which, was a great game, but that's the extent of my...
It's to be fair, it's a great movie, too, for really,
And that may be. I don't think I've ever seen it in full. I think I've seen pieces of it, but I don't think I've seen the whole thing. But
what you're glossing over is that it's a woman, and it's also an African American woman. She's British, I think. So
she's black, and that's not being right. But yeah,
well,
I don't think she's American.
It's a term. It's called Black British. They do it in English.
Okay.
Yeah.
There you go. All right. I was not aware.
Which means whether you, I don't know how to say it without coming off like an asshole, but it is going to spark controversy no matter what the situation, because it is a woman and it's a black woman. And And there are those that are going to be like, no, James Bond is white and male. His name is James Bond, not Jane Bond. And my theory, because from what I remember reading of the synopsis, that whoever I don't know if it's Sony or MG, it's Sony now that's releasing the Bond flicks. They have said that at this point, Bond is retired. Bond meaning Daniel Craig is retired.
Well, and the thing that I think, and I don't mean to interrupt you, Rico, I apologize, but one of the things that I'm getting from this article that I think is important to stress is she's not going to be Bond. It's the 007 portion that's transferring. It's not the James Bond part of it. So she's going to be it doesn't say that I can see in here a name to the character, but the character will have a name and be so-and-so 007 as opposed to James Bond 007.
It's embracing that theory that all the previous Bonds were just different guys with the number 007. They all just happen to be given the code name James Bond. Right. But that is the Daniel Craig Casino Royale was a reboot because his name is James Bond and it's an origin story. So that negates this whole previous theory,
right?
But it's embracing that type of theory. But my theory is that since Bond is already retired because he basically gave up at the end of Spectre, is that he is now in seclusion or he's retired. He's living comfortably with that fucking woman that he has been dating for the last one, whatever the fuck her name is, Swan or something.
Yeah.
So I think it's going to open with, remind me of the actress's name again. I don't want to just call her Marie Rambeau or whatever the fuck her name is.
From the person taking this role, Lashana Lynch.
So she is going to be the new 007, and I think that's how it's going to open. And then I think she's going to get killed. And then they're going to use that as motive for Bond to come out of retirement and go back into the Bond role. Or they'll flip it. Or, he'll be taking on this new protege while trying to track down fucking Blofeld and Freddie Mercury and whatever the fuck. Because Rami Malek is in it. So.
Yes, but Rami Malek.
Well, all right. Blofeld Rhapsody is.
Oh my God!
Is that? So it'll either be
at least
she's already 007 and he's going back to the role, or he is still retired and he's sort of training her as the new 007. I don't think, if I'm really being honest, I think they're taking a leap of making 007 a black woman, but they're not going to stick with it. I don't know if they have enough courage to do that because there is going to be backlash from this. Don't.
There already is.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So I don't think they're going to stick with it. I don't think we're going to have her be the next quote unquote 007 for the next couple films after Daniel Craig is officially done. I think it's just going to be a one-time gimmick kind of thing for the sake of the movie. They're having their cake and eating their cake. They're being like, hey, we made Bond, black and a woman, but also no, we're going to go back to this.
Okay, well, I have a question about that, but I'll get there in a second, only because I want to read a little bit of this from the article that I've got up. This from The Sun, which is a British newspaper for those who need to know, but if you search The Sun online, you'll find it.
Did the British even see the fucking sun?
Right? I know, it's so fucking cloudy. It says an insider told the Mail, which I think is a division of the Sun newspaper. There's a pivotal scene at the start of the film where M says, "Come in, 007," and in walks Lashana, who's black, beautiful, and a woman. This source also revealed that Bond will then be brought out of retirement in Jamaica to thwart a global crisis. So, there's your kind of just backing up what you were saying. My theory, and I'm wondering, and this literally just hit me, so I'm still kind of digesting all this, and when I say that, it's not because I have a problem with it, but I'm just trying to absorb it and kind of process it through my brain. because there was a lot of talk about Idris Elba playing Bond for a long time, and he even came out and said he didn't want to do it because the focus would be on him being the first black Bond as opposed to the movie. And or something to that effect. I might not have the exact phrase, but that's basically the point he was making. I wonder if this allows them to then hire him for Bond 26. Not saying that she shouldn't have the role, but okay, having Lashana step in as 007, whether it's Bond or not, and all accounts say it won't be, then that takes this first black Bond off the table.
It cancels it out.
Right, exactly. And not only do they cancel that out, but they cancel out the woman thing. So now you could have, I think they cancel out more of the race than the gender, but I think it kind of cancels out a little bit of both and opens the door, maybe not in 26 for a female, but it opens the door for lack of a better phrase, Jane Bond down the road. Whereas in the interim, you can do Idris Elba now if he wants to do it. Or someone else for that matter, like, I don't know, Donald Glover or whatever,
Well, I think the most important rule is they have to at least be of UK.
Well, yeah, that's always... Yeah, I was just pulling out actors that I could think of off the top of my head, but...
Right. It's funny you say that because Emilia Clarke released... she said that she would love to play Jane Bond.
And, I don't know who that is.
Game of Thrones, Terminator, Genesis...
okay. I know her from Genesis. I didn't see, I don't watch Game of Thrones.
Right. She's the blonde dragon chick.
She's also in, anyway, she's in something else I've seen, but I can't think of what it is right now. Go ahead.
My whole take is, we did talk about this when we did the Shaken, Not Stirred episode. I do appreciate the traditionalness of white male Bond because that's what I grew up with. I'm not saying I don't want it. I'm all for trying and exploring new interpretations of the character, especially if you're going to go with it's just a number. It's just a code number.
Yeah.
But I think it's actually, in a weird way, I think it's more sexist to change the role to accommodate a woman, whereas I think they should embrace a new role. You see what I'm saying? Well, instead of calling, for a woman being Jane Bond, because it sounds like a gimmick, I would rather see someone who's as badass as Bond, but be a woman and have a complete, like Salt. I think Salt could have done exceptionally well because Angelina Jolie, has the star status of taking on. I don't know how to say it, but if she was a male and British, she would be an obvious choice to be James Bond.
Well, yeah, and to the same point, Atomic Blonde, which I thought was a good movie.
Blonde with Charlize Theron. You're right.
Real quick on the Emilia Clarke thing, how did you not pull Solo as your reference? Because that's where I would know her from.
Oh, all right, man. I'm sorry. I didn't think of fucking Solo. Jesus.
Yeah, nobody thinks it's Solo. Anyway,
I think it's like Solo. I
liked it too.
The most fucking thing she's famous for is Game of Thrones, but you could give less of a fuck.
The less of a fuck is quite the word. Anyway, I personally, like I said, still kind of wrap my brain around it, but if they're using it as a transitional piece, I'm kind of okay with it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm more okay with any. I think it should be a male role. That's really. I don't care the nationality of the actor as long as he's British. I don't care the color of his skin, but I think they're going to have a hard time making the whole thing be believable that it's a woman playing James Bond, or you know what I'm saying? I think I think it's on the verge of being there. And I think you may be right that this is a stepping stone to get to there. But I would personally rather just see a whole other franchise and make it just as interesting or just as good. Again, I got to talk Salt. I thought Salt was really well done. You know, the Americans get Bourne. The British get Bond. Why? You know, there should be another interesting franchise that obviously will be compared to Bond, but everything is going to be compared to everything. I mean, every new sci-fi movie is going to be compared to something else. Every new action movie is going to be that too.
Yeah, why not all spy films are always compared to Bond? Because that was the first real, like, you know, successful. What's that?
It's the granddaddy.
Oh, yeah, totally. It really is. Bourne was compared to Bond. I heard those comparisons, you know, and yeah. All in all, I'm okay with it. I think it'll work. I just surprised to see it, but not because I have a problem with it, but just because you didn't expect to see that. You know?
Well, I will give credit to the actress. I think the actress, I didn't really give her enough praise in my rant for Captain Marvel, but I thought she was very credible in the role that she was given. I thought she added, I could believe that her character is friends with Carol Danvers.
Agreed.
You know?
I think though, if they're not going to use Bond as the name, so it's going to be, you know, something different, 007, whatever it's going to be. I would have liked them to give the woman that played Moneypenny a chance, because she's an African-American, well, not African-American, but same thing. She's British, Black British, and she's already in the organization, so why not just elevate her to 007 status? If I have a complaint, it's not because they're using a Black British woman. It's because I think they're using the wrong one. And not because I don't like the actress, but why not give this woman who's already been there a chance?
You know, I would argue that the character of Moneypenny is just, in a roundabout way, just as important as the name James Bond. So they don't want to cheapen the name. And I would imagine that the character would be like, why would I be 007? I'm 008. Fuck 007. I'm my own spy.
You think
and
so?
I could see Moneypenny. I can see, who is it? M having this conversation with Moneypenny, be like, now we want you to be the new 007. She's like, fuck that. I want to be 008. Can I be 008? What's wrong with 008? 8's a good number. 5, why not I gotta be 7? And just have her give Ray Fiennes some shit. He's like, no, 007, you know, we have an opening. She's like, dude, motherfucker, there's numbers all over. Like, give me 009. Like,
right. Why
do I gotta take over this old fucking motherfucker?
Yeah, you know what? They don't really have that many numbers, though, if you think about it. Because 00 status is a thing, like calling it 00. So once you get to 9, you're SOL. Because it's not 0010. That would be weird.
Well, the 00 just sounds good. I mean, I see what you're saying, but like,
yeah,
I could see 0066. I mean, it's you know, 0037.
37. In a row?
0010. Yeah, in a row. I mean, you could still do it. I mean, if they threw out like, this is 6,297, I'd be like, all right, they need to fucking reboot this shit.
Right. So, all right, man. Well, I just wanted to bring that up. Is there anything else you want to say about it? Because I think we've kind of hit what we can. I mean, we don't have a lot of information, and there's not much more to talk about until more information comes out.
I just want a fucking name to Bond 25 is fine, but I really just want to hear what the fuck is going to be called. Call it something. It's got to have a catchy name. It's got to be
the title of the movie. Yeah.
You know, the Bond name is sacred. Like, the Bond title has got to grip you and it's got to hook you. I mean, Skyfall, whatever your complaints about Skyfall was, it's got a really interesting, good Bond title.
Yeah.
Same with Spectre, even though the movie I thought was kind of weak. Quantum of Solace, who the fuck even knows what the hell that means, but it sounds like a Bond title.
It does. Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, just, you know what they should call it? PodAskew. That's a new Bond movie. I'm calling it PodAskew. You know? Wait. And a skew to a kill.
A skew to kill?
A skew to a kill, yeah.
No, take the A out. A skew to kill.
Skew to kill?
A skew to kill. No. You said a skew to a kill is what you keep saying.
Because there's a movie called A View to a Kill.
I thought it was A View to Kill. I think it's just to kill. I don't think it's to a kill. Yeah.
Well, fuck. All right, let's just call it PodAskew. Goddammit.
CJ here with a few thank yous, and I'll let you know how you can get in touch with and follow the show and us. If you want to agree with or yell at us, follow Rico, me, and the show on Twitter. The show is at PodAskew, Rico is at RantsRico, and I'm at M_Blade. Listen to PodAskew on the Apple Podcast app, Spotify, iHeartRadio, or anywhere else you find podcasts. Please don't forget to rate and comment. We want to thank our logo designer and show friend Mike for his work on our wonderful logo. You can contact him for artwork via email at mpxl.s2art@gmail.com. Again, that's mpxl.s2art@gmail.com. Thank you to Dubbed in English for our opening theme music, 96 Reasons. Thank you to Samuel Lemons for our closing music, Theme Askew. You can find Sam on Twitter at Samuel Lemons, all one word, and his music on SoundCloud at www.soundcloud.com/Samuel-Lemons. Finally, our biggest thank you is to you, everyone, for listening. Rico and I really appreciate your time and look forward to bringing you another episode soon.
I spent the last 7 years settled down, and what has it gotten me? I'm standing in a pool of blood on top of a stack of bodies. Damn it! PodAskew. 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 PodAskew.